Ievgenii, how do you like? And I'm a Ruby developer. I'm 26 years old. My origin is Chernihiv, but now I'm mostly live in Kiev. I want to invite you to visit our city. It's rather beautiful. You'll dive deep into history. You'll do like it. Okay, my presentation called Ruby is not just a gem. Why? Because Ruby is also an awesome programming language. It's a good choice for those who's fond of KISS principle. It's keep it short and simple, keep it simple, stupid. It's many different translations of it. So it's a programming language. Let's see what it is. In next 15 minutes, I'll talk about short language history, about how it works in general, like how it works. I'll show you some code examples. I talk a bit about Ruby's community. I talk a few words about nowadays problems. At least I'll try. Talk a bit about nowadays problems of development of complex systems, main problems, and how Ruby ships us in solving these problems. And finally, you'll ask some questions if you want. Okay, meet the short life story about Ruby. I guess almost each of you have heard something about this language, just the name or something. Because it's rather old today, it has 21 years old. Okay, so Ruby was born at 1993. Ruby's father is Mats. Yukihiro Matsumoto. As you can guess, it's Japanese. So why he decided to create new language? Because up to the time there was a lot of other languages. So what was the reason? The reason was that he had no language on his mind that will ship all his needs. What was his needs actually? His needs were he wanted the language to be syntactically simple, truly object-oriented, because he used Smalltalk before, but he thought that Smalltalk is not enough object-oriented. He wanted its language to have iterators and closures, exception handling, garbage collection, and be portable and cross-platform. So he was rather brave man, and he accepted the challenge, and he decided to develop his own language. He decided to call it Ruby because he thought on his mind it should be as simple and as perfect like a gem. So he called it Ruby. So in December of 1996, Ruby 1.0 was released. And then the first stable version was released. It's rather boring text and case, so I skip through them fast. I'll just show you. It's like сравнение языка с человеком. Then Ruby came to school. In 1998, Mats created a simple English homepage for Ruby. He called it Ruby Talk. Then Ruby 1.8 was released in 2004. Ruby Gems was released. Ruby Gems is like an external service for managing libraries for Ruby. Then Ruby became the rebellious teenager in 2005. All was changed. Tremendously changes was occurred because Ruby on Rails appeared. Ruby on Rails is a web framework that is for web development of web applications based on Ruby language, and it changed history of language very much. Starting with this date, Ruby becomes prevalent between all the world, not just among Japanese, but in USA too, and community started to grow fast. And next key date for us is 2011, when the most, for that time, the most stable version of Ruby was released, 1.9.3. Here's a Ruby from my mind became the strong adult, and he stayed like that for nowadays. That's all about history. So now let's skip to how Ruby works. That's general scheme, just not done deep into details. I guess the similar scheme is for most of script languages that we have now, like for JavaScript or other language. So let's say we have some Ruby code written in your favorite text editor. Personally, I prefer Sublime text editor for its simplicity and speed. So you have some Ruby code, then you pass it to Ruby interpreter by some console command, for example, that ships with bundle installation for your operation system. Just type in console Ruby and then name of file, and then the interpreter gets your code. Then it goes to interpreter. There are several versions, several implementations of Ruby interpreter for several platforms, for different platforms. There are C implementation of Ruby interpreter, written originally by Mats, and it's called MRI, Mats Ruby interpreter. Also, there is a Java implementation of Ruby. It could be executed on Java machine. And you can see that each your Ruby statement is based on some compiled, precompiled C object that encapsulates their logic, or some Java object then, that should be run on Java machine, and then it goes to your CPU and computed everything there. Okay, now my favorite part of presentation, because it's almost, I'm doing almost all of my time I'm writing for it. First I want to show you how simple the first program for beginners looks like. It's about hello world program. You just write, it's a one line of code in Ruby language. Puts hello world, and you got the output hello world. A bit more complicated example. Let's say we have a variable that is equal to 10, and we want to use some interpolation. We want to use this value in some custom string. For example, now a is equal to something, and we just write this string, then we insert this value like that, and these mustaches, and we get a string. Let's play a bit with arrays in Ruby. Let's say we have array like this. You can see from this example that an array in Ruby can have its elements of different types, of any type you want, even of your custom class or something like that. So here we have one single string A, and it even could be another array, like an element of the array. We can play with this array. We can get the first element, for example, and output 1 for us. Then we can use Ruby feature block. It's called block in Ruby. It's like a closure in JavaScript or anonymous function or like one. Maybe it would be much better to call anonymous function here. So you just pass it and you select some elements that are of type string or array, and it output as A and sort element and to list the first element because it's number of an array. This example is very famous map function used very often. You just map each element to the value of some function that is determined for that element. For this example, I took to string function, so just convert each element to a string presentation and we get this. Also, we have hashes. I code hash and not just me. Other people code hashes. It's like associative arrays, like key-value pairs. Dictionary, map. It's all the same. Here's how it looks in Ruby. You can just specify it in slashes, and it means it's a hash. Then you can index hash by some key. You can get this value of this key. For example, if you want, you can get out this array, and you'll get field and key from there. You can modify your hash and make it flatten. It means that you got the array of keys and values supported by the comma. So you get plain array from hash. And for example, a bit more complex example, if you have some other hash, you can merge two hashes by using merge function, and you'll get. So the existing keys would be replaced, and if it not exist, it will be added to the result. Looks very simple. I mean, about syntax is, I like it. Let me talk a bit about object-oriented programming in Ruby, how it looks like. It's a rather simple example about fruits. I decided to create my class. I called it fruit. You can see it's like a properties, it's like a public properties. Initialize method, it's for construction an object, the class. It's like a constructors in other languages. You can pass some arguments here. And let's have one method. I call it eat. Here this means instance variable. It started with which symbol, and we check if it is false. If it is already eaten, then choose an exception with class name, and if it's not, then we eat and set its instance variable to true. Then we have apple that inherits our fruit. We add one more attribute of it. Cultivar, it's like a sort. And we can and we redefine the constructor here. We can use super method. It will call this one and the base class. And then we also set the cultivar for our instance. And for eating an apple, we know, let's say that we know that if we eat the apple, then its weight is lower than this value. And how we can use it. Let's create an apple. Test apple is like as simple as calling apple.new. passing some parameters for weight and for cultivar. Then we check, we can check some public properties for this apple, like weight, cultivar, like eaten, suppose, because we just created it, not eaten. Then we can eat it. It returns true first. Then we can again test weight. It became lower than before first, and if we try to eat it one more time, it will throw us exception. It cannot be eaten 2 times. That's all for code. Few words about Ruby's community. Ruby, because it's about 21 years old, it has a large community all over the world. If you got interested in this language, if you want to know more, you can use one of next sources to get some use, to get the mailing. For example, you can subscribe to different mailings about Ruby. For example, from RubyTalk source, from RubyDocs directly. Also, we have IRC channel for Ruby, and there are a lot of famous blogs. Among them are Rails Ruby, Riding Rails, it's about Rails framework, actually. And of course Matblog, the blog of creator of this language. And even if you feel yourself good in coding and you would like to contribute to open source, because Ruby is really open source language, you can even contribute, you can try to merge some your comments to public repository. So you can contribute the code, Ruby code, shows written on C, to drop it from. And there are a lot of conferences each year taking place. You can visit them if you want. And finalizing my speech, I want to talk a bit about nowadays most big problems of complex system development. I think that most two problems of development nowadays are complexity of systems and scale. I mean, first we count here. I don't think that we can do much with the second one, but we can really do something. We can for sure do something about the first one. Because complexity is the main problem nowadays. System becomes more and more complex, and developers always thinking about how to simplify their life. And here is where Ruby can ship us, because Ruby is made for developers by developers, and its main goal to be simple for developers, to boost up development process, to save your money, to save your time paying developers, because all this leads us to more and more cost. Also, Ruby is a great choice for programmers by themselves because it simplifies the process of development. Do you have some questions? Maybe you can ask it now, or you can just contact me later.
I have a question. What do you use Ruby for? What type of tasks do you solve using Ruby? If you work at some other place?
Actually, Ruby is for solving some. Basically, for now, I use only two languages for any task. I use JavaScript or Ruby. I can say that almost any task could be solved by Ruby. But mostly, actually, mostly in the real world, it is used for web development, and Ruby on Rails is the common way of using Ruby nowadays.
Okay, thanks.
What is the best project, in your opinion, is writing Ruby? So the famous one.
Hero. hero.
Okay.
It's written on Ruby on Rails. And it's awesome.
And one more question regarding GVM. So how it works? I mean, you have a Ruby code, and is it interpreted directly to the Java code or Java code? So how it works?
Okay, so you have a JRuby interpreter. You write some Ruby code, then you feed it to a JRuby interpreter, and each class of Ruby has its appropriate implementation, already compiled Java classes. Then, when you start this interpreter, actually, the core of Ruby is loaded into memory, and then it interprets one-by-one statements in Ruby. Then it passes to Java machine and run it on the code.
Thank you for your nice speech. Appreciate the time. Tell me please, why do you think business should move to Ruby? For example, I have to set software as a service business, right? Why do you think it's like PHP or the regular web development? Why do you think I should move to Ruby?
Yes, thank you for the questions. Like a main question.
Yeah.
It's a rather hard question, actually, because I don't think that you should really move to Ruby and forget about PHP, because there are already a lot of specialists for PHP. But as for me, I saw some PHP code. I'm not a master of PHP. I'm not a master of puppets. I'm just thinking that I'm master of Ruby. Because Ruby is simple. It boosts up the speed of development.
Really?
Yes, I believe that it's faster in terms of development speed than PHP. And the level of entering this language from the scratch, if you did not know any other language, is rather low. So you can start to be from, like, you haven't heard anything about programming before, and you just start playing with Ruby and really like it because it's very simple.